So we're going to back off our tailstock, hold our bushings in our hand, bring the tubes off. And be careful not to drop these or not drop these or nick them into the live center here, because you can dent it and then you'll have to return it. So now we're going to work on our grain match piece. And you can see here is where my arrow trick comes into play. So what we're going to do is we're going to have the arrows face each other. We already have one bushing on there. We're going to slide one pin blank on there with the arrow facing where the other pin blank will be. Slide your first bushing on, and your second one, this one seems to have some gunk in the tube. Yeah. Slide your second blank on, and then your third bushing. Bring up your tailstock, slide it over that mandrel, pressing against the bushing, and just hand tighten the tailstock. Lock it down, and let's make a good practice here. Turn off your variable speed, turning on your lathe, and slowly working the RPM up. Before we do that, I want to talk about, so here I'm actually going to use a negative rake scraper. You can see here this tool has two angles on the back side there and on the top. We're using this because it cuts cleaner on acrylic and less likely to tear out and break the blank itself. One thing I want to talk about is how to hold it. If you can see, the tip of my tool is actually slightly higher than the center point on the lathe. So I'm going to drop my tool rest down, and it'll feel weird because carbide tools are actually a little bit lower than mostly every other tool. You can see right there my tip of the tool is in the center line of the lathe. So now we can go ahead and turn on, again, RPM all the way down, turn the lathe on, and slowly work it up. Now this carbide tool will cut a little bit better than the skew did. So we're going to present the tool flat, straight in, and slowly nick away, rocking my body. And for carbide tools, I prefer normally the bigger the better. You can also use the square tools. I've always just used the round because that's what I had. With the carbide tool, you can get a little bit more aggressive here in the roughing. And you can see it also cuts cleaner. When you round things out, you'll get more of those strings. And I prefer the larger carbide tools because the smaller ones you really have to choke up your body into the tool to actually keep it stable. With this larger one here, you can see I have my hand on the back here, and I can really relax and take my time, which is what you want with these acrylic blanks. You don't want to be choked up and want to rush because you're uncomfortable. So now that I'm mostly round, you can see here I'm mostly round. I'm going to start working on the other tool. Slowly nick away the corners. Let me get a little bit more aggressive with it because I got the corners knocked off. Here's a good instance of what I was talking about with these strings kind of getting in the way. I'm still a little rough right here, so I don't want to grab that one. Over here, I'm a little rounder, so I could pull that off if I wanted to. This one fell off just by touching it. This one, I can kind of get my fingers up over here on the live center and just slowly work it away. When we get more round, you can see it'll get all over the place again. And now that I'm mostly round here, you see right here I'm perfectly round. I still have one rough spot right here. There you can hear it. I'm going to crank up my lathe speed a little bit. I'm going to spin about 3,000 RPM again. And now we're cutting a whole lot smoother. I'm going to clean off my tool rest. Take my tool, because this one's still kind of rough, I'm going to take my tool and try to get majority of that off where I'm working. There's a good shot where you can see where it really gets all over the place with the acrylics. I'm still slightly out around here, so I don't want to touch that. Over here, I can kind of clean up. On this side, I know I'm round, but it's in that middle spot I don't want to be yet. So you can see there, I'm mostly cleaned up. I can take my tool to get the other spot away. And what that was right there is the excess material I had off on the end from where I barrel trimmed it. I did that one to show you can leave a lot of excess and really leave you some room to play around with inserting the tube. So now that I'm all the way around on this one, I'm going to come back to this left one here. Start working on it. For some people, all these strings may not bother them, but for some reason, my OCD kills me and I want to clean them up. But when it's on the blank itself, I can get rid of the majority of them. See? This is also, you can make confetti. Clean all that up. Now that I'm fully around on both of them, I'm starting to taper the ends towards the bushings. I'll clear up some here. I pressed too hard there, and that's why I was getting that chatter. And I chipped something out, but since the blank is still big, I'm not worried about it. I'm taking small bites to get close to that bushing there. I'm going to remove a lot of the fat here. You can leave some shapes in there if you want to have something different. For now, I'm not worried about it. The only problem about doing shapes in your pen is you have to sand it and make it all look the same. Especially on these acrylics, they show scratches and the coarser grits easier. So you really have to make sure to go all through the grits. And again, we're going to do a whole another video on sanding and finishing pen blanks, because there's a lot of different ways to do it. Clean up my shavings here so I can see how close I am to the bushing. Still got quite a way to go, so I'm gonna make these pins a little bit thinner. And right now I'm not pushing hard. All I'm doing is putting the weight of my hand into the material. You can see I'm just barely pushing with my thumb. I don't even have my index finger on it. I'm going to do it right there to pull it back, and then I'm just pushing with my thumb. So I'm kind of evening everything up right now. You can grab the tool with your index finger if you want to stabilize it a little bit more. I'm going to clean off the tip of my tool. I'll clean off my tool brush real quick because there's a lot of material on there and it's making the tool want to move on top of it. So on this one, I'm about at the thickness I want to be. So I'm going to do one final pass to kind of clean up all the individual lines from the tool. And what I really want to pay attention on this one is take a light cut and make it moving. So I don't want to stop and do individual cuts. I want to do one full cut. And I'm actually going to bring up the handle of the tool a little bit here. I'm actually going to bring up the handle of the tool a little bit here, kind of closer to underneath my armpit. And what that's going to do is bring the tip of the tool a little below center for this final cut. Okay, so that blank is done. Fill it with my fingers. There's no high spots or low spots. It feels all the same all the way across. I'm going to clean off some of my shavings here to see where my bushing's at. I'm going to work on this one a little bit. I'm going to start in the center, work my way to the bushing. And right here, I'm struggling to see what I'm doing, so I'm going to move the shavings. Close to the bushings on that side. I'm going to smooth up the cut where I started. I'm going to work my way back down the other way. I'm going to clean off some of these shavings. Still have some ways to make this one thinner to match the other one, so I'm going to remove some excess material right here. Try to take your time when you do that, because if you press too hard and try to remove too much, you will blow out the blank. So now I'm about there. I'm going to do one final pass, doing what I was doing earlier. Bring up the handle of the tool, kind of upper on my upper body, and do one small light pass all the way through. Clean off my tool so it can get a little bit easier. See what I'm doing. Especially on those bushings. Okay. I'm going to turn off the lathe and look at where we're at. And we're good. And you can see those arrows help me line up. So right now I have the green on the green side and this red color on the same side. And if they're slightly off, you can take them, loosen up the tailstock here, and loosen up the tailstock, you can see there, and then rotate them right or left as a need be.
Yeah, it's the cool thing to do.
Well, that's it, everyone. I'm Chris with Klingspor's Woodworking Shop. We have officially turned our 3 pins. Stay tuned for the next video where we discuss sanding and finishing. We have a couple different options there to show you how we're going to do that process, show you the different ways that's most common and most popular. So stay tuned for our next video, and we'll see you later.